We're always celebrating the big, obvious strengths, right? Confidence, charisma, you name it. But what if one of the most powerful traits for a wiser, more grounded life is actually, well, quieter, something we tend to overlook? Today, we're diving into that exact thing, the quiet strength of being truly open-minded.
And look, the source material we're drawing from kicks off with this line that it really grabs you. There is a quiet strength many people overlook. Instantly, we're not talking about being the loudest voice in the room. We're talking about something else entirely, maybe about being the most receptive.
So yeah, that quiet strength, it's open-mindedness. But hang on, that's a word we hear all the time. We think we know what it means, but do we, really? Let's actually dig in and ask that question for real. What does it truly mean to be open-minded?
Okay, so here's the first big myth we need to bust. The common view, right, is that being open-minded means you're just agreeable, kind of flexible, easily persuaded. And let's be honest, that can sound a little weak, can't it? But the real meaning? It's the complete opposite. It's all about courage, humility, and some serious inner strength.
Which brings us to our first big idea here. This is a truly misunderstood strength. We're going to completely reframe this whole concept, moving it away from this idea of being soft and showing you how it's actually a form of deep resilience.
So what's our working definition? Here it is. True open-mindedness is the ability to hold multiple possibilities in your mind without grabbing onto any single one out of fear. And that last part, out of fear, that is everything. This isn't about having zero opinions. It's about not letting fear be the bouncer at the door of your mind, deciding which ideas even get in.
And this just shows you exactly what it looks like in the real world. It's the quiet courage to actually say these simple but unbelievably powerful things. You know what? I may be wrong. Or I might not understand this yet. Or even, there may be more to this than I see. See? That's not weakness. That's the bedrock of all learning and all growth.
Okay, so let's get into our second section, because this is where we see why this matters so much. The stakes are surprisingly high. We're literally talking about the difference between a life of growth and one of stagnation. The difference between freedom and being trapped by your own fear.
There's a really good reason why open-minded people are described as being unstoppable. Think about it. They're not trapped by their own pride or by beliefs they formed years ago. This gives them the freedom to constantly revise their thinking, update their assumptions, and absorb new information. That lets them handle complexity, which, let's face it, is a total superpower in the world we live in today.
Now, flip that coin. Closed-mindedness is basically a prison, and it's built entirely out of fear. The fear of being wrong, the fear of looking foolish, the fear of losing your identity, fear of change, fear of uncertainty. All this fear forces you to cling to old ideas, and it puts you in this defensive crouch that just shuts down any real chance of growth.
And wow, this quote just absolutely nails it. Closed-mindedness is emotional rigidity disguised as confidence. It might look like strength and certainty on the outside, but so often it's just a defense mechanism. It's a mask for insecurity, protecting a fragile sense of self.
Okay, this next part, Section 3, is so important because it is really easy to get this wrong. We've got to be crystal clear about what open-mindedness is not.
So, does being open-minded mean you just have to agree with everything? That you're not allowed to have any strong beliefs? The answer is an absolute, unequivocal no.
Seriously, being open-minded does not mean you abandon your core values. It doesn't mean you tolerate the intolerable, and it's definitely not about forfeiting your own judgment to whoever is shouting the loudest. True strength isn't about being easily swayed. That's just being rudderless, drifting in the wind.
What it's really about is finding this crucial balance. You're aiming for a balance of steadiness and receptivity. You can be rock solid in your core principles while still being open to the world. You can listen, really listen, to another person's point of view without ever losing your own inner compass. That's the sweet spot.
All right, so we've defined it. We know what's at stake. We know what it isn't. So now for Section 4, how do we actually do this? Let's get super practical with 5 powerful habits you can start building today.
Think of this as your toolkit. Number 1, ask yourself, what would make a smart, reasonable person see this completely differently than I do? It forces you into empathy. 2, get curious about what you might be missing. What are your blind spots? 3, notice that feeling when you get defensive. That heat in your chest, that's a huge clue that your ego just got triggered. 4, make the shift from listening to argue to listening to learn. Game changer. And finally, number 5, let new ideas just sit for a while. Let them rest before you rush to judgment.
And that brings us to our final section, the hidden gift. If you actually practice these habits, what's the reward? What's the big payoff? Well, it's pretty profound.
I mean, look at this list. The payoff is huge. On a personal level, you just become more resilient. You adapt faster. You learn faster. You bounce back from setbacks faster. Socially, you start to understand people on a much, much deeper level. And practically, you just make better decisions and you can navigate all of life's complexities with a sense of grace, not anxiety.
The end result of all of this? You become more flexible without becoming fragile. The perfect image for this is a bamboo tree, right? It can bend in the most powerful winds without ever snapping because it always returns to its center. That right there is the powerful combination of resilience and receptivity we're talking about.
Let's leave it with this incredible thought from the source material. In a world full of noise, the person who can hold multiple truths without losing her own is rare, powerful, and deeply needed. This really just drives home why this skill is so critical, not just for our own well-being, but for the world around us.
So that leaves us with one last and pretty crucial question. Because this isn't just about understanding a concept, it's about trying to live it. The question isn't if the world needs this kind of person, it's how will you become that person?